It's Mike Arrington. I'm here at the Fortune Brainstorm Conference in Aspen, Colorado with Jeff Weiner, the CEO of LinkedIn. You have some big news to share today.
Yes.
What is it?
We are hiring a VP of Corporate Communications, Shannon Stuba. We're very excited about that.
And normally that's not huge news, but I think in this case it really is because Shannon has deep experience she was at eBay she was directly with Meg Whitman for years.
Yep.
And then she left to join OpenTable, and she was part of the team that took OpenTable public.
That's right.
And now she's leaving OpenTable to come to LinkedIn,
Yes.
which is a company that's...
What are you getting at, Mike?
Well, it just seems like, why would you hire someone who just took a company public with this kind of experience unless you were going public as well, which you've said you are, and so that makes a lot of sense.
Well, I don't recall where I mentioned we were going public, but actually the reason we hired Shannon was the current team we have in place has done a fantastic job of getting us to where we are. And where we are is now basically doubled our presence on a global basis. We largely had a presence in the US and London and have since opened up offices in Amsterdam, Dublin, Mumbai, Toronto, Sydney. And I think Shannon has tremendous global experience. And she's going to enable the team we currently have in place to really focus and scale in on the things that they do best.
Mm-hmm. So it has nothing to do with the fact that she just took OpenTable public.
No, but it's great. It's great experience for her to have and for her to be able to bring to the table.
You have said, you being the management team of LinkedIn, read in the past, and I believe you said like, your goal is to be a public company at some point.
No, actually the goal is to connect the world's professionals. We're at about 70 million today, and by some estimates there's as many as 500 million in the world. That is seriously the goal, and actually beyond that, it's what you do once you've connected the world's professionals. And the vision is to create economic opportunity for every one of them. One tactic on the way to realizing that may be going public.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you're not going to answer the question if you're going public this quarter, next quarter, or the quarter after?
We're focused on building the business as always.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about LinkedIn.
Okay.
You said you have, you said you have how many?
70 million members.
70 million members.
70 million members.
How many visit the site, monthly?
So according to ComScore on a global basis, that's north of 40 million uniques. In the US, it's north of 20 million.
Okay, and ComScore, pretty accurate?
Yeah, I think reasonably accurate.
The number of employees you have has skyrocketed. I think it was 300 a year ago or a year and a half ago.
When I first joined in December of '98, we had about 340.
Okay.
And we ended last year near about 500, and this year we expect to come out of the year close to 900.
900. And LinkedIn is profitable?
Yes, has been for a couple of years now on an operating cash flow basis.
Yes, and that was with 340 employees. I remember Reed 2 years ago said very profitable. 900 still profitable.
Yes, most definitely. Actually starting to see some expansion and acceleration despite the fact we continue to invest aggressively. Largely in 3 areas: R&D, building better products; scaling our software infrastructure; scaling our hardware infrastructure; international expansion; and a sales force to keep up with the demand.
What is revenue now?
We haven't disclosed that.
You used to talk about revenue a little bit.
I think at some point, somehow it made it onto the public record, but that was a couple years ago.
Well, we'll know soon enough when you file the S1, I guess, right?
I will say that last year was the best year in the company's history despite the macroeconomic headwinds, and we are seeing pretty healthy acceleration this year.
Does most of your revenue comes from just pure advertising, from job listings, and then from sort of companies paying a lot of money to have deep access to LinkedIn? Is that right?
I think that's pretty close. So it's ad sales, it's premium subscriptions, and enterprise licensing. That's that last bucket you're referring to. And that's largely oriented around a recruitment solution that now reaches about 60% of the Fortune 100.
And they pay tens of thousands of dollars. Is it a month, a year? What?
Well, it depends on the customer. It depends on the number of seats. It's on a per seat basis. It's a license. Those deals can range from 1 year and beyond. And we're starting to see longer term deals. We're starting to see larger deals, substantially larger deals. So what have been deals in the tens of thousands or even the hundreds of thousands, we are now starting to see in the millions.
Hundreds of thousands per year, per month, or
per year?
Okay.
Per year, per company. And we're seeing very nice acceleration. So if you had asked me at the end of 2009, which was the biggest business, I would have said actually in aggregate over the course of the year, they were very well balanced. But as we exited the year and we started to see some pickup in the economy, the recruitment part of what we do really started to take off, and that's now our largest and fastest growing business.
Last question about Facebook. As an outsider, it seems as though everyone's living in a Facebook world now. They have 500 million users. LinkedIn's been around a lot longer than Facebook. Serves a totally different purpose, but inevitably comparisons are drawn. And sometimes even by Facebook, where they talk about a single profile where you will use it to look for jobs and you'll use it to talk about, the fun stuff you do and maybe drinking in college and things like that. Excuse me. Is that the way we should be thinking about it, or is that the way you think about it? Is it LinkedIn is just a vertical that Facebook already covers, or is that wrong?
Well, I think it's different context, and I think context matters in this regard. For the most part, people want to keep their personal lives and their professional lives separate. It's important. When you're looking for a job, for example, you don't necessarily want people to be able to see the parties that you've just been at, or graduation week for a lot of people. And I think people's personas change despite the fact they're the same person, depending on the context that they're in. So the way in which you're going to carry on with your friends or your family is at times going to be different than the way you're conducting yourself within a meeting or within the boardroom.
Should people think about LinkedIn as competing with instead of a leading question, what public company or large private company do you compete most directly with, would you say?
I think what we're trying to do is unique. I think at the end of the day...
But in some ways you compete with Monster, of course, right?
Monster's all about jobs. And I think that's a component of what we do, certainly. But LinkedIn's not just about helping you find the perfect job for you. It's also about making you more successful, more productive in the job you're already in. And that's a key difference. So the way I would put it is this. Ultimately, we want to connect talent with opportunity. And we want to do that at massive scale. And I don't think it's been done before, such that little word association game. If I said to you, pick a company when I say the following word, search, who would you say?
Oh, Ask, I think.
Okay. So you would say...
AOL.
Great.
Google, sorry.
Should have known better to do this exercise with you. And if I said
cool.
Coffee on every...
Oh.
If I said coffee on every
block... Wait,
I'm
not done yet.
Wait, come back. It's an important point. If I said coffee on every block, who would you say?
Starbucks.
And if I said talent, not just finding a job, but making you more successful in the role you're already in by connecting you to the right tools, the right team, the right knowledge, who would you have said?
I'm going to go with LinkedIn.
But if it weren't for the fact we're having this conversation, more likely than not, you may not have been able to think of a
that's
company.
the thing. Yeah, there is no obvious answer.
And here's the thing. You talk to the greatest CEOs in the world. You talk to the students of the greatest companies in the world, the Jim Collins, and what will they tell you their greatest priority is? It's talent.
Yeah.
It's bringing the right team on board, and then it's developing that team while they're there. Over and over you hear this, and yet at the end of the day, when we played that word association game, historically, you would have gotten silence. And I think because of the changes that are taking place in the world, the way in which we're now sharing our identity, the way in which we're building networks, the way in which we're sharing information and knowledge, within a professional context, we have an opportunity to completely change the game. And that's why I think we're unique.
All right, thanks very much for your time.
Thank you, Mike.